Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Bebop here, and today I'm going to be going over the Life Staff and Void Gauntlet, the healer build for PvE. PvE, not PvP. So, if you want a PvP guide, I would check out Andy V or Dusty Y, and I will put their links in the description. Now, for PvE, hey, Shadow, stop stream sniping, bro. Oh, you're ruining my shot. All right, for PvE, let's get into it. Now, I'm going to start off with the gear. First of all, what you really want to do is get, level 700 gear to start off with. That's what your first goal is going to be on the fresh start servers. You're going to want to grind out some M3s, and you can craft the Azoth crystal gear in the gypsum kiln, but you got to earn the materia or the metator materia in the dungeons to be able to craft these pieces. Each piece is 3,500 materia. So when it comes out, you get Enchanted Ward and Refreshing with the Azoth crystal gear, and then a random third perk, but you could change the third perk if you use 3 chromatic seals and a armor matrix. So I have fortified single ground on the clothes, and yes, it says disabled, but I also have it here on the life staff. Now if you have it on the life staff and you use it, it's stronger, 17%. Now when you switch off and you go to Void Blade, then you're going to lose that. It goes away. But if you have it on your armor, then this one will take over. Okay. So if I throw this down right here and then switch to my Void Blade, now this one's going to be active. See how it's not disabled? So having that on your clothing is a must for healers, because you always want to have the Fortify in the Sacred Ground as best as possible. And right now, it's what we're, kind of suffering from in PvE and all the new fresh start servers. A lot of healers don't have this gear yet, so healing is really weak right now. But it will get better in time. Now, let's go to the chest gear. Now, I have Shuriken Fortification, Enchanted Ward, and Keen Beacon. Really, the perks you want to pay attention here are Keen Beacon and Enchanted Ward. When Beacon heals a player, they gain 6.7% critical chance, okay? So, that is really important. That's going to help get your teammates some more DPS. Nullifying Oblivion. I have this on the clothes. It is also on a Void Gauntlet. Let's say if you have a Void Gauntlet like this one right here with Putrefying Scream. Really, really good. Some dungeons, healers, you're going to have to be versatile, because some dungeons you're going to need this over Nullifying Oblivion. Like, let's say Genesis right now. They're vampiric enemies. What does that mean, Bebop? Well, I'm glad you asked. Now, vampiric enemies are going to heal upon damage. So anytime they damage, they're healing themselves. So it's going to take a lot longer to kill the enemies if you don't have disease. This will reduce incoming healing by 42%, and that's really what you're paying attention to there. So you don't want, this is a PvP perk, so don't pay attention to that. Just trying to show you the Putrefied Scream, and also Vicious is really good to have on the Void Gauntlet. So some dungeons you will run this. Some dungeons you will pick 3 or 4, well, obviously you'll pick 4 perks, but some of them you will run 4 abilities, okay? And you would switch off before boss fights or, whatnot, to different abilities, usually from like Petrified Scream to Rupture. Rupture is really good to have on bosses. I'll go over that here in a bit. So a weapon perk on your clothing is really good. Also, Nullifying Oblivion will help take away some of the buffs from the enemies for a few seconds. And so like the soldiers and Jinn or whatnot, they won't just be hitting as hard. Now they still need to be enfeebling skewered, but that's not your job. All right, Attuned Leather Pants. Now that Nature's Wrath has been kind of nerfed into the ground, Attuned Leather Pants will be a go-to for a lot of healers. There is also a setup I have over here with the Featherweight. I'll go over that in a minute. If you're new, Featherweight, you can maybe get away with, I would say just go with Attuned Leather Pants and get good quicker this way. But this is going to give you 10 attributes to every category. So attributes, it's going to add 10 to all the categories here. Okay, so to get to 25 strength, all you got to do is add 10 into strength, and you're at 25. Let's see, light footwear. We got Enchanted Ward, Refreshing. This is Azoth Crystal Shoes with Mending Protection. In PvE dungeons, you want to go AoE heals. All right, area of effect heals. You do not want single target heals in PvE. 27% outgoing healing power for 3 seconds. If Orb Protection heals an ally below 50% health. So that's another buff right there. Now, of course, have your potions. You can also have energizing Hearty Meal. Let's say if I wanted to do that instead of serums, and this is going to increase mana regen rate by 30% for 40 minutes. Okay. So you could take that before you go in there and then put your serum back in, and that way you're good to go. Now, let's go to the life staff. Couple different ways you can do this here. If you're not going to be on life staff much, refreshing moves really not going to be that important to you. Blessed would be important. Fortified Sacred Ground's not going to be important if you're switching off and immediately going into Void Blade. So it depends on what kind of healer you are. At the end of the day, as a healer in PvE, you are additional DPS. You're not only healing, you are DPSing. It is the most difficult job of the team. So welcome to healing. But it is also very fun and rewarding, because if you're good at it, it's kind of cracked, man.
Everything that guy just says, bullshit.
So it could be really fun. But basically what we do here while, you know, in high level PvE situations is once the tank gets set, the healer's gonna, you know, dodge, throw the sacred, and then they can even throw the Mimic protection. If you want to, you can throw the beacon onto the DPS, and then immediately you're gonna get into the Void Gauntlet, and you're gonna hit Rupture, and you're gonna go to Void Blading, and hopefully you're back here hitting criticals instead, and you get that healing aura around you to also do additional healing. With the Rupture, anybody hitting the boss will get additional healing, so that will help them. Okay, I'll go over that here in a minute. But that's what you want to do. The healers that are learning, that's perfectly fine. You're going to sit back and you're going to heal. That's okay. You can get used to that. You'll get your cooldowns that way. And if you do light attacks, you'll get your cooldowns faster. I don't know why the animation's not really working right now, but hey, welcome to AGS. Hey, buddy. And if you notice at the bottom, you see this plus symbol ×3. It's a skill tree perk. So if I hurt myself real quick and I throw Sacred Ground, I'm healing for 913 a tick. And let's hurt myself first, Bebop. That would probably be a lot better. And then that way you can heal yourself and see the comparison. All right, so let's get that ×3 going. And now Sacred Ground is going to heal me for 1235. So I have a 30% buff on that. Okay, that's what you want to do as a healer if you're going to be sitting back and shooting heals. And then every now and then you roll in and you put Oblivion. Okay, this is what healers this is, I don't know what, okay, anyways, this is what healers that are learning are going to do. They're going to roll up, you know, throw Sacred, but there's going to be something you want to do before you throw a heal. It's going to be dodging. But they'll throw Sacred, usually throw Beacon, maybe even Mending. They can work on their cooldowns, but first put down Oblivion, dodge back in that weird animation, and you can go ahead and build up your ×3, and you can just, you know, do your light attacks also. Probably light attacks first before the ×3, so that way then when you're getting ready to throw your heal, your ×3 buff, and then you can dodge roll and throw heal. Now the dodge roll ability is very important. Let me show you here. I'm going to throw Sacred Ground down on myself without dodging, and then I'll dodge and show you the difference. So without any ×3 healing, we're doing 913 a tick, and this is at 300 focus. Okay, these are about going to be the attributes you want to go with in PvE. So that was 913 a tick. Now I'm going to hurt myself again, and I'm going to dodge before healing, and it'll be 20% stronger. Okay, now I will dodge and then throw the Sacred, and at 1171 per tick. So already 200 something increase in healing, and that's without the ×3. And now if we go to the ×3 and then dodge and heal. All right, we're getting low. Nice. Now we'll go ×3. Now we dodge and heal, and I'm at 1364. Okay, so that's a pretty good increase right there from 919 or whatever it was. So that's what you want to be paying attention to as a healer when you're learning, is the ×3 buff, throwing your heals every now and then, throw down at least Oblivion. If you're not throwing down Oblivion as a healer, you ain't gonna be my healer. All right, you got to learn how to do that. At least throw that Oblivion down and get back to healing. Okay, we'll respect that as you're learning. That's what you need to start off with. Eventually You'll be able to throw the heal on the tank, maybe beacon on the DPS, or depending on what the situation is, get in here, hit the rupture, and then get the void blade out. All right, and you want to be doing damage to the enemy also. And that healing aura is going to keep healing your teammates even if sacred and stuff goes away. And then when you have rupture on there, you're also healing teammates again, and they're healing themselves when they hit the enemy. All right, now let's go to amulet here. Actually, let's go to this heart rune. A lot of healers run disease. Okay, it's going to add a nature dot, and it will reduce healing of incoming enemies. Now you can't see the damage because AGS and their bug issues right now. All right, so let's go to amulet. Let's say I'm spec'd for Starstone. You want void protection on your amulets. Okay, this is going to help you survive. This is a must. Empowerment and health is, I believe, a must if you're going more traditional, damage healer. Okay, getting in there with void blade. You want to have your empowerment last longer. Health is good. Void protection, great. All right, slash damage, because that is a slash attack with the void gauntlet. Okay, so slash damage is really good. Hardy, obviously, for dodging, having your third dodge available. If you didn't know, Hardy allows you to do 3 rolls. Now you will stam yourself out, but at least you can do 2 rolls without stamming yourself out. That right there is pretty bis. And then earring, endless thirst. So when you take a potion, you get empowering toast, fortified toast, and then I have refreshing toast I added on there. Then eventually you can upgrade that to 725. Make sure you have your desert sunrise. Make sure you have your, food, whatever food you want to take. And also you can have a life staff like this. Purifying Breeze heals for 33% weapon damage each time you remove a debuff from an ally. And so whatever. Savior is more important. Healing is increased by 20% when you heal a target below 50% health. Mending Protection, 45% ongoing healing power for 3 seconds of orb protection heals an ally below 50%. So I would have this staff in more of a high level PvE situation. That way I can just throw my heals and then I can just get in here and void blade, and I'm not worried about having refreshing move or any of that stuff on my life staff. Now blessed is really good. I'd rather have, savior, blessed, and mending, or whatever you can have. I don't know if that's a legal perk combo. I'm not really a healer per se, so don't forget about that. Decide which perks you want and go from there. Mending protection on the clothes is just fine. You don't need it on the life staff, but all up to you at the end of the day and what you find works best. So let's go to attributes. Now I originally set this up with the original life staff right here. Attributes, I haven't taken any food yet, but actually I think I did. Hold on. No, I did not. Let's use some int food. So we go here, and I'm almost at the 200 int. So if I can find a way to get there, that'd be great, but then I'd have to take one off. So I'm using 44 int food. If you use 48, you won't have to worry about it. But I like 44. It's a little bit cheaper. 48 food is just always way overpriced. But 300 focus is plenty. As you get better and you get to a specific team in M3, 250 will be just fine. Fire mutations, I don't know. I would say stay at 300. And then Constitution, you can start off, if you're new, at 100 and work your way down, eventually getting low to 50 or, whatnot. And you can go from there. And then Intelligence is important. Now, I had a Dex ring with that ring you saw. So 5% critical hit chance and then 5% base damage while at full health. And then I'm at the 25 dot here for light attack damage. So what does this mean? Well, you're going to be doing a lot more damage with the Void Blade than if you just went, 400, 500 focus. That's going to be for brand new healers that haven't learned the game yet, and that's perfectly fine, but you will get there eventually. Let's go to Weapon Mastery, Life Staff. This is what I have for the Life Staff. Sacred Ground, Orb of Protection, Beacon, absolute must. All right, let's go over Sacred Ground. Regenerate stamina 25% faster. Faster? When allies are in Sacred Ground, they gain 50% increased healing from non-consumables and life staff or life steal healing sources. And then we got this dot right here. When you heal an ally below 50%, life staff abilities cooldowns reduced by 10%. When holding a life staff, increase the amount of healing from non-consumables and life steal healing sources to all friendlies in your group by 10%. When you hit a heavy attack, gain a stacking 10% bonus to outgoing healing. That's the heavy attack multiplier I was showing you. When you hit with the light attack, reduce life staff ability cooldowns. That is important in case a situation arises where you need to get Sacred down because you went to Void Blade and you're not killing fast enough and the tank's getting in a little bad situation, but you need to cool it down real quick. You know, that is pretty important. Now, heavy attacks now remove 1 debuff when passing through an ally. This is really good to charge your heart rune. If you notice down there where my heart rune is, I'm blinking it for you. If you heal, basically if these were my teammates and I would line them up in a line and I would just shoot through before the dungeon starts, that way I can charge my heart rune. Now obviously I'm hitting a dummy here, so it's going to charge it, but it will pass through your teammates and charge your heart rune because it thinks it's removing a debuff. I don't think they patched that. I think that's still a thing, but if they did patch it, then never mind. Light attacks now heal for 16% weapon damage when passing through an ally. This one, I would probably take off and go with something else. You can decide what to, go with here. In a situation where you're void blading and you're getting in there on M3s, probably won't need that, but if you're learning, that might be actually really good for you. Right here, after you dodge, outgoing healing is 20% more effective. Really good. Orb of Protection. It's going to grant 20% fortify for 10 seconds, heals ally for 8% weapon damage, and deals 146 weapon damage when it hits the enemy. Orb of Protection hit an ally, they gain recovery and healed for 6% weapon damage every second for 10 seconds. If you successfully heal an ally with Orb of Protection, you also gain fortify, and recovery applied by Orb of Protection. When this projectile hits, it affects all allies within a 3-meter radius. All right here. If you have a buff, all outgoing healing is increased by 20%. You want to try to increase all your healing as much as possible. Shoot a projectile that deals 146 weapon damage, heals allies 3-meter radius, 16% weapon damage each second for 10 seconds. Beacon is expanded in the range of 4.5 meters. Beacon lasts 5% longer. Now you can add the haste, but that's up to you. If you want to take this dot off, go with speed of light. Hey, that's what a lot of people do. Just don't throw that on a tank as you're moving through the dungeon, guys. If the tank takes damage or anybody takes damage after you heal, if you heal at, let's say I heal late in a fight, I throw that down as we're going to the next set of enemies. If we do not get that healing to stop before we get to the next set of enemies up here, then if anybody takes damage, you will get the aggro. Okay. And then last dot, life staff buff you grant lasts 20% longer. Fortify, things like that. So that's the life staff. Void Gauntlet is how I have it set up. Now, the Void Gauntlet is the most versatile weapon in the game, I believe. You pretty much can use all these dots. It depends on the dungeon, the situation. I mean, petrified scream to, I say petrifying scream, but whatever. So you saw on the Void Gauntlet right here, that is so important in, dungeons, like I said earlier, where the enemies are healing themselves. Okay. So you will switch off sometimes. You will even select 4 abilities at sometimes. You'll have this on through the main part of the dungeon when you're going through the mobs. So you can root the mobs and also disease them. And then right before, maybe a boss fight, you switch off of that and you go to Rupture. And that way anybody hitting the boss will gain health. So sometimes you might want Baleful Tether. Fire projectile that deals 100% damage that tethers you to an enemy for 10 seconds, weakening it and empowering you by 20%. So it weakens the enemy 20% and empowers you by 20%. That's big time. That's great on bosses. All right. And it recharges your mana regeneration. All these dots you really don't need right here. You would basically just switch off of Scream and you would go to Tether or Rupture depending on what your group calls for. Now, Oblivion and Void Blade will basically remain. 10% weapon damage while above 50% mana. 10% critical chance while abilities are on cooldown. Gain Empower when casting abilities 5 meters from an enemy. Increase damage by 10% for 5 seconds. 5% cooldown reduction on all abilities when successfully hitting an enemy affected by 3 or more debuff stacks. Void Blade, important. You're going to be doing slash damage. It's going to also add Disintegrate, which is dealing 5% weapon damage to the target and reducing the target's armor 10% for 8 seconds, up to 3 stacks. Very important. You will get Fortify and critical damage on Void Blade attack. 10% critical damage, okay? 10% critical chance while above 50% health. 5% cooldown reduction on critical hits. And on critical heal, heal to 15% of the damage done. Oblivion, add 15% empowerment. Attacking the targets will inflict weaken, reducing their damage 5% for 5 seconds per hit. Stamina regen rate is also increased. On successful ability hit, gain a stack of Void Essence. At 6 stacks, consume all stacks, and you get a 3-meter orb that will heal for 30% weapon damage and deals 30% weapon damage per second to enemies. So that's what this is. Right there. That's the healing aura, okay? All right, so over here, 10% base damage on successful range of basic attacks against targets with an active debuff, which, yeah, you're not going to really use, so, but you have to select that to get to all this other stuff. Mana cost are reduced by 25% while above 50% mana. Rupture, fire projectile, deal 100% weapon damage, and additional 25% base damage to hostile AI targets that inflict absent rupture for 10 seconds, healing anyone that hits the target for 20% of weapon damage done. Allies additionally receive 15 stamina when they're hitting the target. Friendlies within 4 meters of the affected target are healed for 80% of weapon damage when absent rupture ends or the target is killed. So that's how I set it up. Now, sometimes you will, like I said, have 4 abilities. You'll go with Petrified Scream, maybe take off a dot here and there, and then you can switch to Rupture or Tether or whatever you want to do. Orbit Decay, I don't really see used as much in PvE as more I do see it in PvP. So that's basically it in a nutshell. In this protection right here with the Attuned Leather Pants, you're going to be right at, if you look down here where the physical elemental is, 924 physical, 880 elemental. The benefits of going with Featherweight, which I would recommend you not do, but for new players or new healers that want to get into void blading and get into that with a little bit more protection, because maybe you're running with groups that really don't know what they're doing, so you need the extra protection, which is perfectly fine. You will have more protection, 1216 to 1216 physical and elemental 1158. Okay, goes up quite a bit. Now with the featherweight, you're gonna be able to add 2 pieces of heavy gear. So I usually go head and gloves, and you'll still be right here at the lightweight cap. The Frigid Dawn set's really good because it's got elemental version and chain of ward and random third perk. And then you can set your stats however you want. But with this, you will not get the 10% like you do, or the 10 bonus to every category like you do with featherweight. So then you can just adjust it how you need to here. All right, well, that's basically healing in a nutshell. I went over the gear, went over the weapons, the jewelry, the weapon perks, different weapon styles you can go with. You can also run with the flail, a lot less used than the Void Gauntlet. So I would stick with the Void Gauntlet unless something changes coming up in the meta. The flail can add empowerment and fortify to your teammates, but usually healers will be doing damage with the Void Blade. So, all right. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day, and I'll be streaming later on. Later.